κύριοι, ο μόνος άνθρωπος που έχει πάρει το Mr. Olympia μια χρονιά που το έχασε και 4 φορές συνολικά, ένας ζωντανός φίλος του bodybuilding, ο Cutler.
Ο κύριος Σταύρος Φριουλίδης. Ένα χειροκρότημα, δεν έρχεται αλλιώς. Σταύρος Φριουλίδης, ο προπονητής των πρωταθλητών. Έλα Σταύρο! We're absolutely delighted to have here before time Mr. Olympia, Cutler. Από εδώ και πέρα η μορφή του σεμιναρίου θα έχει να κάνει με ερωταπαντήσεις. Επειδή δεν ξέρω την ακουστική είναι μεγάλη αίθουσα, δεν το έχουμε ξανακάνει σε αυτή την αίθουσα. Θα σηκώνετε το χεράκι, θα κάνετε την ερώτηση, απλά θέλω να είναι δυνατά. Για να μπορούμε να καταλάβουμε και να μεταφέρουμε σωστά τις ερωτήσεις. Έχουμε μαζί όμως από ό,τι βλέπω και τον κύριο Λευστηριόπουλο. Γεια σου Λευτέρη. Γιώργο, να ξεκινήσουμε με δύο δικές μας εισαγωγικές ερωτήσεις. Να κάνει και μια ερώτηση και ο Πέτρος και μετά να προχωρήσουμε στην ερώτηση του κοινού. Βασικά, εγώ έχω μια ερώτηση να θέσω στο Jay. I have a question for you, Jay. You said in the past that it's not about how many times you win the Olympia. It has to do with the fashion you win it. What was your special fashion in your accomplishments so far? Ρώτησα τον Τζέι, έχει δηλώσει το παρελθόν ο Τζέι ότι δεν έχει να κάνει πόσες φορές ένας αθλητής κερδίζει το Olympia, αλλά πιο πολύ έχει να κάνει με τον τρόπο που καταφέρει να φτάσει εκεί. Και τον ρώτησα ποιος είναι ο ξεχωριστός τρόπος που έκανε τον Τζέι να φτάσει εκεί.
First, I'd like to say welcome everyone. Thank you for coming out today. I'm very happy to be here. I was able to come last year and I've now come back again. Greece is like second home to me. And I know I have a lot of fans here and I'm able to travel a lot more than I did when I was in competition mode. But to answer the question about the competition and my fashion on how I won, if you look back at all the competitions I did in the Mr. Olympia stage, whether I won or lost, because there was obviously some losses in there, you know, my reaction was the same, because I went to each contest with the mindset to be my absolute best, and I always trained for myself. And when I started in the beginning, I never planned on winning the Mr. Olympia competition. I just wanted to be the best that Jay Cutler could be. The gift was winning the Mr. Olympia competition, becoming the best bodybuilder in the world, not only once, twice, but 4 times. And I realized that with those wins, there had to be some day that I lost that competition, so I always prepared myself mentally, knowing that I trained at the best of my ability, I did the best I could and to represent the person who I was and to stay positive on the Mr. Olympia stage and spread the word to be for you, not for anyone else. I never trained to impress anyone or do anything other than the goal to be the best that I could possibly be, and that's what I've done, and that's what I continue to spread when I travel the world still as an ambassador for health and fitness and bodybuilding itself.
Ο Τζέι ουσιαστικά απάντησε ότι το ξεχωριστό που έκανε σχετικά τους υπόλοιπους αθλητές ήταν ότι δεν τον ενδιέφερε να κυνηγήσει κάποιον ή να ανταγωνιστεί κάποιον. Πάντοτε η προπόνηση που έκανε ήταν στο 100% των δυνατοτήτων και κοιτούσε να βελτιώσει τον εαυτό του. Δηλαδή, ο ξεχωριστός του τρόπος ήταν ότι δεν κοιτούσε τους άλλους, αλλά κοιτούσε μόνο πώς θα βελτιώσει τον εαυτό του. Η προπόνηση που έκανε, η διατροφή που έκανε, ο τρόπος ζωής του ήταν μόνο για το πώς θα γίνει αυτός καλύτερος, να είναι σωστός και να αποτελέσει ένα πολύ καλό πρεσβευτή του αθλήματος. Και είμαστε όλοι σίγουροι ότι όχι απλά το κατέφερε, αλλά κατά τη γνώμη μου είναι μαζί με τον άνθρωπο είναι οι δύο μεγαλύτεροι και καλύτεροι πρεσβευτές του αθλήματος παγκοσμίως. Να προχωρήσουμε λίγο στο Πέτρο τον Πολυχρονίδη. Πέτρο, τη δική σου ερώτηση παρακαλώ πολύ στο Τζέι.
Ως το πιο αγίναστο της αίθουσας και να ξέρεις ότι είμαι ο μεγαλύτερος φαν, ο πιο αγίναστος μεγαλύτερος φαν παγκοσμίως του Τζέι.
Και αν μπορώ να πω κάτι για τον Πέτρο, είναι ότι εντάξει, το ξέρετε όλοι από τον τροφό της τύχης, κάνει και μια πολύ επιτυχημένη εκπομπή στο ραδιόφωνο μαζί με τον Μάνο του Σπανόπουλο στο Sport FM καθημερινά, το καμένο στο Ζέσταμα. 8 με 10 το πρωί δεν είναι, Πέτρο?
Πες τα σημαντικότερα, πες τη σχέση μου με το bodybuilding. Είμαι ο άνθρωπος που πριν από 10 χρόνια ρώτησα τον Τόρι αν κάποια στιγμή όταν το συζητήσανε στο Σαντιέγκο, στο Κόμιντον, τον ρώτησα πολύ δυνατό τι δουλειά κάνεις. Ήταν ο Ντόριαν, οπότε από τότε που καταλαβαίνετε αποφάσισα να ασχοληθώ λίγο παραπάνω για να δω ποιοι είναι αυτοί οι υπεράνθρωποι και πώς φτάνουμε μέχρι εκεί. Σαν να γίνω αυτός παρέα, θέλω να ρωτήσω τον Τζέι κάτι το οποίο δεν έχω προλάβει να το ρωτήσω την πρώτη φορά που συναντηθήκαμε. Και είναι το εξής και να το μεταφέρεις. Ποιος είναι ο μεγαλύτερος πειρασμός που μπορεί να σε βγάλει στον δρόμο σου όταν κάνεις πρωταθλητισμό? Τι είναι αυτό που μπορεί να σε βγάλει εκτός δρόμου? Μπορεί να είναι οι γυναίκες, μπορεί να είναι αυτά που σου λείπουν και τα κάνουν οι άλλοι. Τι είναι αυτό που σε βγάζει να τους δει εκτός δρόμου όταν κάνεις πρωταθλητισμό? The distraction.
Which is the most distracting thing on your road, on your way to get to the top. And of course, you live in Vegas. It's the city of temptation.
The nutrition is difficult. You know, eating the amounts of food to be as big as I was to win the title. I didn't realize how many calories I would have to consume every 2 hours, you know, 7, 8 times a day, waking up in the middle of the night and eating meals to get as big, and then, you know, to tear that down and become, you know, ripped at the biggest body weight possible to compete with the likes of the Ronnie Colemans, Dexter Jacksons, Phil Heath later. I had to be bigger than I ever wanted to be. That required a lot of nutrition, and you know, I stress the importance of the diet that makes a bodybuilder who they are. Anyone in general, anyone that's trying to get in shape. I look out in the audience, I see younger generation, I see older generation, I see the parents, I see, you know, so many different faces out there with a certain goal, and obviously listen to someone like me that's done, you know, the best of the best, you know, winning the biggest titles, looking for inspiration to become the next. You know, there's someone probably sitting in this room that is going to become, they're already becoming champions. It's possible for anyone, but most importantly, you have to put the time and the dedication in to become your best.
What motivated you to keep moving forward and get to the top? Of course, the biggest motivation for us. What motivated you?
You know what motivated me? The fans definitely motivated me, but I was afraid to fail. I was afraid to lose. I knew that there was someone working harder. There was someone that was dedicated more, someone that was eating more meals, someone that was training harder, and someone that was sleeping and resting more. I always wanted to do everything at my absolute best, and that's what kept me motivated, was afraid of failure. It's not bad to be afraid to fail. You have to realize that, you know, you need a motivation to be great, and you can't be afraid to fail, but at the same time, do everything you can to avoid failure.
Η ερώτηση του Πέτρου ήταν ότι σε αυτό το δρόμο το δύσκολο που είχα ακολουθήσει για να φτάσει στην κορυφή, ποιο ήταν το πιο δύσκολο πράγμα και ποιο ήταν αυτό που θα μπορούσε να αποτελέσει εμπόδιο και να αποσπάσει την προσοχή. Και η συμπληρωματική ερώτηση που έκανε ήταν ότι αναμφίβολα ο Τζέι αποτελεί ένα μεγάλο κίνητρο, ένα πολύ σκληρό motivation για όλους μας που γυμναζόμαστε για να συνεχίσουμε να κάνουμε το καλύτερο που μπορούμε, αλλά τι αποτελούσε κίνητρο για τον ίδιο τον Τζέι. Και ο Τζέι απάντησε ότι ο δρόμος είναι δύσκολος, το πιο δύσκολο κομμάτι σε αυτό είναι η διατροφή. Δηλαδή το πόσο δύσκολο είναι να ακολουθήσεις ένα συγκεκριμένο τρόπο διατροφής με όλες αυτές τις τεχνίδες, ένα συγκεκριμένο τρόπο ζωής και ότι το κίνητρό του εκτός από τους φανς, η δύναμη που του έδινε ο κόσμος, ήταν ο φόβος της αποτυχίας. Δηλαδή δεν μπορούσε να διαχειριστεί το γεγονός ότι θα αποτύχανε, ότι κάποιος άλλος, ο Ρόνι, ο Φιλ, θα μπορούσαν να τον ξεπεράσουν. Γι' αυτό ήταν υποχρεωμένος να δίνει πάντοτε 100% των δυνατοτήτων του και να είναι αφοσιωμένος 100% χωρίς να παρεκκλίνει της πορείας του και να υπάρχει κάτι που να μπορεί να τον εμποδίσει και να φτάσει στην κορυφή. Και ότι αυτό που πρόσθεσε επίσης είναι ότι ο καθένας μπορεί αν έχει αυτό το κίνητρο και αυτό το συγκεκριμένο τρόπο σκέψης και την οτροπία, ότι ο καθένας μπορεί να φτάσει στην κορυφή. Είναι θέμα νοοτροπίας. Να καλωσορίσουμε και τον κύριο Τουλιάδο στην παρέα μας. Και να προχωρήσουμε στην ερώτηση. Δόκτωρ.
Καλησπέρα και από μένα. Η ερώτηση που βάλω αφορά το τελευταίο Ολύμπιο που κέρδισε το 2010, το οποίο πιστεύω ήταν το πιο δύσκολο, διότι κέρδισε τον τωρινό Mr. Olympia του Θεού Κίβου. Και από όσο ξέρω, στα προγραμματικά ο Τζέι είχε χάσει και κατάφερε να αναστρέψει το κλίμα και να κερδίσει τους τελικούς. Ήθελα λοιπόν να ρωτήσω ποιο είναι το μυστικό που κατόρθωσε να γυρίσει τούμπα το παιχνίδι και να πάρει την τελευταία τελική στο νήμα. So, Jay, my question is, I was thinking about your last Olympia. Perhaps it was, as far as I know, the toughest one when you beat the current Mr. Olympia, Phil Keith. So, according to the history, Phil was on top during the prejudgment, and later you managed to win the finals. What was your accomplishment? Was based on your, what made you to turn upside down this situation and finally manage to earn your fourth title?
I was always better competing. It was a 2-day competition in the Mr. Olympia competition. So on Friday we compete in the prejudging and Saturday is the finals. I seem to be always better the next evening. And for me, it was about getting in enough food and getting rid of some of the nerves. And I know for me, I was always better when there was a fight. I always came from behind. I seemed to get better as the show went on. And it's just my attitude. I don't support the title. I loved being Mr. Olympia. That was something that I learned. It really didn't mean much to me until I didn't realize I could win the Mr. Olympia until the first time I placed second to Ronnie Coleman in 2001. And then I realized, wow, I can actually win this thing. And then once you win it, you say, well, you're satisfied with winning the Mr. Olympia, but as you see, there's nothing more you can achieve in the sport of bodybuilding. So I was able to go back and win it multiple times, and I really enjoyed being Mr. Olympia, and I never wanted to lose that. But eventually, yes, I had to step down and hand over the title to a new champion. Of course, it was Phil Heath, who's a great champion now, still winning. But our time comes and goes.
Do you believe that psychology plays a role in those
I think you have to have mental preparation in order to be something spectacular. I think you have to have the mindset of a champion and be able to handle the adversity. And remember, the championship comes with a lot of things where you just don't eat, sleep, and train. You have to travel, and you have to be a representative, a spokesperson. You have to learn how to carry your meals with you, and you have to train on the road when you're not used to gyms. I've traveled to every country around the planet, and for me it was really hard to balance that. But most importantly, I was able to do it and still maintain championships. And now, looking back, I don't envy those guys that travel consistently and then have to now go into preparation. Every guy is now in preparation for the Mr. Olympia competition leading up to this September. So that being said, it's a little easier now. The mindset is more relaxed, and I can still go to the gym and train. Obviously, it's not to win Mr. Olympias, but to be better myself and be a better Jay Cutler.
Λοιπόν, ο Τζέι είπε ότι γενικότερα τα καταφέρει καλύτερα όταν ο αγώνας γίνεται σε 2 μέρες, δηλαδή Παρασκευή και Σάββατο, όπως γίνεται το Ολύμπια. Και πιστεύει ότι έπαιξε ρόλο πολύ η καρδιά του πρωταθλητή και η όλη πνευματική διεργασία για να μπορέσει να φέρει τα πράγματα στη σωστή σειρά. Είπε φυσικά ότι τώρα χαίρεται πολύ περισσότερο τη ζωή του και την καθημερινότητά του, πράγματα τα οποία δεν μπορούσε να τα κάνει και γενικότερα δεν τον ενδιέφερε στην προετοιμασία του σαν επαγγελματίας αθλητής να τα καταφέρει. Και αυτό που κάνουν οι περισσότεροι αθλητές, όταν όπως είπατε, χαίρονται την καθημερινότητά του περισσότερο και γενικά δεν του λείπει η προετοιμασία και η σκηνή.
Κύριε Πολυχρονίτη.
Πριν δώσουμε το λόγο στον κόσμο, εγώ να ρωτήσω άλλα 2 πράγματα. Ένα πιο αγωνιστικό και ένα λίγο πιο προσωπικό. Είναι πολλοί νέοι άνθρωποι εδώ σήμερα, αλλά είναι και πολλοί τη δική μου χρονιά που γεννηθήκαν δεκαετία του 70. Υπάρχει κατάλληλη στιγμή για να πεις αποσύρωμαι ή πότε το καταλαβαίνεις αυτό? Ποια είναι η στιγμή που λες πρέπει να αποσυρθώ? Is there a retirement time, or is it different for everybody?
I don't think an age makes a difference. I think, if you're still having fun and you enjoy it, that's the most important thing. I started at 18 and I retired. I competed in my last competition at 40. Yes, I had injuries. I achieved the ultimate status of Mr. Olympia, and I knew I wanted to do better things with my life. I wanted to travel more and be more relaxed, and I'm able to do that now. So I think we transition, we go through phases in our lives, but most importantly, it wasn't as fun as it was when I started, and I knew it was time to move on to something else.
Δεν είναι θέμα ηλικίας απάντηση ο Τζέι, αλλά απλά από ένα σημείο και μετά δεν το απολάμβανε όπως το απολάμβανε στα 18 του που ξεκίνησε. Γιατί ο Τζέι ξεκίνησε την αγωνιστική του καριέρα στα 18 του χρόνια και σταμάτησε στα 40. Ήταν στο top επίπεδο για 22 ολόκληρα χρόνια. And the last question for me is, if you take a lot of pleasure in your life now after your retirement, because your life was full of sacrifices, your career was full of sacrifices and dedication, and the regimented combination of training, eating, and sleeping. How do you take pleasure in your life now? What has changed?
My pleasure now is eating half as much, training half as much, enjoying the foods that I didn't get to eat as much. But it's mainly just being in a more relaxed state of mind and knowing that I don't have to prep for competition, knowing that I don't have that pressure of being Mr. Olympia and expectations of being in tip-top shape all the time. I like still training and still eating correctly, but there's a lot of days that I don't train. I travel more. I'm taking a vacation after this, which I never do. I'm going to Santorini from here tomorrow.
Αύριο φεύγει για τη Σαντορίνη ο Τζέι για να απολαύσει τη ζωή του. Με την κούκλα του λιμονί, ένα χειροκρότημα για λιμονί.
And I plan to drink some wine and have some good food.
What do you mean good food?
Kebabs.
Just a minute, what do you mean good food?
Kebabs.
Είναι κάτι στην Ελλάδα.
Να περάσει ο λόγος στο κοινό της ερωτήσεις.
Ναι, να περάσουμε στο κοινό.
So the audience now have the turn to ask whatever questions you want.
What about doing another meeting? Is there a possibility for you? Thank you.
speaking about pepperoni that he's doing comeback now with his 50s. Will you do? Because you said it ain't over.
So he wants to know if it's over. That's your point.
Shall we not retire yet?
I know the fans, I get this request everywhere I go to come back and compete. And, you know, I don't foresee a future on the stage. And I'm dedicating more time to traveling and being more present than I ever was. And I really think that Cutler is becoming more well-known, being off the Olympia stage now and spreading the word and traveling to all these foreign places that I didn't go because I didn't want to leave my house when I was training for Mr. Olympia. I was very dedicated to what I was doing. So, for me to be competitive, I'd have to get really, really big again. And I can ask a lot of the fans, I'm going to lead this into a question. How many people here have trouble eating their food, what they each day? So, how many people? Raise your hand.
Σε πόσα από εσάς είναι δύσκολο, ας πούμε, να τρώνε όλο αυτό το φαγητό κάθε μέρα? Δηλαδή,
εκτός από τη δίαιτα και η ποσότητα φαγητού.
Η ποσότητα, είναι και οι τεράστιες ποσότητες.
I mean, eating 6 or 8 meals a day, it takes a lot of time.
Παίρνει πολλές ώρες να τρώω 6-8 φορές την ημέρα.
And you have to prepare that food. It's the most important thing about bodybuilding, is the training, all that. The food is the number one, the nutrition.
Η δοκιμασία του φαγητού είναι χρονοβόρα διαδικασία και επίπονο που είναι σε καθημερινή βάση.
And I really would have trouble dedicating myself to going back and eating on that schedule that I used to be able to be at my absolute best. Because of my demanding schedule now, I travel more than I ever have.
Το πρόγραμμά του είναι τόσο απαιτητικό πια, με τόσα πολλά ταξίδια, που είναι αδύνατο να μπορέσει να τα καταφέρει.
But never say never. Never say never.
But even if he's not competing, he's still the best ambassador for the sport. Cutler. The next question. Jack.
Jay, you've known to be a big advocate of carbs in the diet. What's your view on the paleo diet? Sort of the caveman diet.
What do you say about the carbs too?
So you've always been a big advocate of a lot of carbs.
Carbohydrates.
Carbohydrates.
Yeah.
What's your view on like the paleo diet?
I always did the carbohydrates. I was saying to him earlier, I mean, my low carbohydrate day was 400 grams of carbs a day, even on a contest diet.
Πιο χαμηλή κατάφραγη στο Τζέι σε περίοδο δίαιτας δεν ήταν κάτω από 400 συνταγάφραγες τη μέρα, δηλαδή 1600 θερμίδες έσχεσαι στη δίαιτα από συνταγάφραγες.
So, you know, I'm speaking from experience. It always worked the best for me eating carbohydrates. Now, I've seen great results with people that have eaten no carbs or high fat diets. Everyone has what they try and works. I try to tell everyone, if you go by the textbook, it's wrong. Because every person trains different, metabolism is different. There's so many factors that come into it. Every Mr. Olympia ate differently and trained differently to become who they were. And there's no right or wrong. So you have to respect whatever a person does, whatever they're doing, and if it's working, I just say stay with it. Otherwise, don't take in other people's advice sometimes. If it works for you, then leave it at that.
Τον ρώτησε ο εκλεκτός κύριος ο κριτής από την Αγγλία ότι ποια είναι η γνώμη του για τους υδατάνθρακες, αν πρέπει να τους περιορίζουμε. Ο Τζέι είπε ότι πάντοτε, ακόμα και όταν προετοιμαζόταν, ότι δεν έπεφτε κάτω από 400 γραμμάρια υδατάνθρακα την ημέρα, δηλαδή κάτω από τις 1600 θερμίδες από υδατάνθρακα. Και αυτό που είπε είναι ότι δεν υπάρχει κάποιος συγκεκριμένος κανόνας και να πας σύμφωνα με τα βιβλία πάνω σε αυτό το θέμα, αλλά θα πρέπει να τσεκάρεις τον ίδιο στον εαυτό. Ακόμα και όταν είσαι αθλητής σε τόπο επίπεδο, θα πρέπει να βλέπεις πώς αντιδρά ο εαυτός σου και μετά ανάλογα να χειρίσεις την κατάσταση. Δεν υπάρχει δηλαδή συγκεκριμένος τρόπος να απαντήσει.
Το καθένα δουλεύει διαφορετικά.
Ένας αθλητής που θέλει να ασχοληθεί με το bodybuilding και είναι νέος, πώς θα πείσει τη μάνα του να μην ανησυχεί για τη διατροφή όλη αυτή που πρέπει να ακολουθήσει και πώς έπεισε τη μάνα του ο Τζέι Cutler να μην έχει αντιρρήσει?
Now, a young athlete who wishes to follow bodybuilding, and he's a teenager, 18 years old. How come it's possible to convince his mother and his parents not to worry about bodybuilding and follow all these stuff that is so dedicated?
You know, there's certain aspects to follow, and of course, in the beginning, my parents were concerned of the health aspects because obviously we get a lot bigger than what normal is. I worked with a nutritionist from day one, so about 6 months after I started training, I worked with a nutritionist to help me. And I started bodybuilding because I had the genetics to do it. I grew up on a farm, I worked concrete, so my body was bigger than all the teenagers. I was always stronger. I marveled at, such, characters such as Superman and Spider-Man, those kind of muscular guys. And, I wanted to be a bodybuilder when I picked up a magazine at 12 years old. And, I didn't know what it would really take to get there, but as I started training, weight training, there's very safe ways to do it. You just have to follow the proper diets. And it's very expensive, but there's proper ways to do it, following the right paths, and not rushing it. It takes a lot of time. I thought it would happen a lot sooner. I started training at 18. I turned professional at 23. I thought, I was going to win the Mr. Olympia. It didn't happen until I was 33 years old. It takes a long time to develop the body and build that muscle. It's time in and day out. But I believe there's a lot of healthy aspects to weight training and the nutrition and all the things to become a bodybuilder. There's a lot of negative sides, obviously, as a parent. You hear horror stories, but the most important thing is to have the role models that show the right direction, and not things that today are on the internet about steroids and all the other things that are involved in bodybuilding and all other sports. There's right and wrong ways to do it. You don't have to follow the negative sides, to use the positive role models to get there. There's very safe ways to do it, and very healthy ways to do it. But it's the guidance and you watching over them and supporting them. The number one thing you can do is support them, because otherwise they're just going to rebel and they're not going to have the right direction.
Ο Τζέι γενικότερα αυτό που αναφέρει γενικότερα είναι ότι υπάρχει ο καλός και άσχημος τρόπος σε κάθε άθλημα, όχι μόνο στο bodybuilding, για να φτάσεις κάπου. Απλώς θα πρέπει να εξηγήσεις ότι έχεις ακολουθήσει το σωστό δρόμο. Και γενικότερα ο Τζέι αυτό το άθλημα το ακολούθησε γιατί είχε τη γενετική, εργαζόταν σε κατασκευαστική εταιρεία, δούλευε σε φάρμα 11 χρόνια. Δηλαδή το σώμα του είχε τα γενετικά, είχε τη γενετική προδιάθεση. Σίγουρα οι γονείς του ανησυχούσαν γιατί τον έβλεπαν να μεγαλώνει, να αυξάνει τη μυϊκή του μάζα. Ωστόσο όμως ακολούθησε τον σωστό δρόμο, τη σωστή διατροφή και γι' αυτό και το βλέπουμε ακόμα και τώρα ότι ο Τζέι είναι ένας αθλητής ο οποίος έχει διάρκεια.
Τα παιδιά κυρίως να μην βιάζονται να δουν αποτελέσματα, να μην μείνουν μέσα σε έναν χρόνο να γίνουν πρωταθλητές, να περιμένουν το πλήρωμα του χρόνου και να οριμάσει το σώμα τους και να μην κάνουν άλματα τα οποία είναι επιβαρυντικά για την υγεία τους.
Και ξεκίνησε από τα 18 και έγινε προς τα 23.
Θα ήθελα να ρωτήσω τον κύριο Cutler η ψυχολογία κατά τη διάρκεια της άσκησης. Παίζει καταλυτικό ρόλο προς το αποτέλεσμα το οποίο θα έχουμε στην εκάστοτε.
When you go to the gym and you work out, you have to have the mind to the muscle connection. So what I really liked about bodybuilding when I first started training was I was going to college, I was 18 years old, I was trying to figure out what I really wanted to do with my life. And when I went to the gym for the hour or 2 hours I was in there, all I thought about was the weight training. I focused on, getting under the bench press and pressing what I could for 10 repetitions and squatting for 10 repetitions. You have to have a mindset so when you walk in the gym every day, you say, okay, I'm going to do this exercise, that. There's a lot of planning that goes into it, but when you actually get into the set and you start training, you have to focus on, okay, I'm training shoulders, so I got to focus on squeezing and focus on getting so many repetitions and getting, that pump, which we all love, right? But most importantly, you have to clear your mind. You can't be worried about what your girlfriend's doing or, what that test that's due in class, 3 days from now. You just want to get in the gym and you want to train.
I've noticed many kids fooling around with their cell phone.
Yeah, playing on your phones and texting your friends and talking about what you're going to do in the next night. That's all changed. That didn't exist when I started training. The internet didn't exist when I started training. I learned from magazines. I picked up magazines in the gyms, and that's how I learned how to work out. I watched people work out in the gym. I didn't have any guidance. I couldn't watch videos of Cutler online and see things. So it was very, you guys have so much more advancement with the internet nowadays. You can see much more and learn much more.
Είναι θέμα περισσότερο ψυχολογία, είναι θέμα νοοτροπίας και ότι θα πρέπει να έχεις σύνδεση του μυαλού με το οποίο γυμνάζεις. Θα πρέπει να έχεις ξεκάθαρη σκέψη, να μην σε απασχολεί. Να απομονώνεις, να μην σε απασχολεί, ας πούμε, τι κάνει η κοπέλα σου ή γενικότερα το μυαλό σου να είναι αλλού. Πρέπει να συγκεντρώνεσαι στην άσκηση. Ο Τσέι την εποχή που ξεκίνησε δεν υπήρχε ίντερνετ, δεν υπήρχε ο καταιγισμός πληροφοριών του ίντερνετ που υπάρχει τώρα. Ό,τι έμαθε, το έμαθε μέσα από τα περιοδικά και παρακολουθώντας τις προπονήσεις άλλων πιο έμπειρων αθλητών και ήταν συγκεντρωμένος. Και επίσης αυτό που είπε ότι δεν του αρέσει το φαινόμενο του να πηγαίνει στο γυμναστήριο και να βλέπει πάρα πολλά άτομα να παίζουν με το κινητό, να μιλάνε, δηλαδή να μην είναι συγκεντρωμένα στην προπόνηση. Αυτό είναι λάθος.
Γι' αυτό και έχει καθρέφτη μπροστά αυτός που γυμνάζεται.
Ναι, γιατί
τι κάνει.
βέβαια και το είδωλό σου είναι ο καλύτερος σου φίλος. Να βλέπεις το πρόβλημα.
What's the best time for cardio? Early in the morning or after training? And how much time? And my second question is what's your...
No, just one question. Ο καθένας μία ερώτηση.
Okay. I prefer fasted cardio first thing in the morning, empty stomach. But if your calories are really low and your body fat is really low, then I suggest after the weight training session. Okay, not before, but after, and anywhere between 30 to 45 to 60 minutes. I would say 30 minutes, 45 to 60 minutes max. No more than 1 hour. Okay. Just, obviously you're boosting your metabolism, not worried about, just because the treadmill or the stair mill, whatever, tells you how many calories, that's not accurate. You're not going to, it's what your metabolism is, what level. But you want to get a good heart rate going. You want to get a little bit of breathing heavy going. And, just keep your body moving. That's the most important thing. Okay, so I would always suggest starting off, if you're starting your routine, start after 20 minutes 1 week, 3 times a week, then go up the next week 25 minutes 3 times, then go up to 30 3 times, then you might go to 40 minutes 3 times, and then you can add from there, depending how lean you want to get. Okay.
Next one.
I want to ask you about injuries. Did you have any major one, and how can you convince yourself to stop exercising in order to heal? Because it's so hard when you're in a routine to stop.
I tore my right bicep at the end of my career. I had surgery to fix it. I had to sit out for 6 weeks, and I was able to come back. I did compete after that about a year and a half later, but it was difficult. It was hard to sit back, especially after I trained most of my career. I was at the end of my career. So for me it was difficult, but I knew I had to heal. I had to listen to the therapist, and I had to do a lot of stretching. And but I was able to do it. And we all face injuries. We all face adversity. But you need to do what is right for your body and listen to your body. So you find things to keep you busy. In the meantime, I was able to train legs and do cardio and those kind of things. I just couldn't do any upper body movements. So it was, yes, a difficult time, but I pushed through and was able to come back and get back in the competition.
Hello, Jay. I would just like to say welcome to Greece. My question is, what is the best way to know how many days you have to carb deplete or carb load, and what it depends from, like your body type or how lean you are?
So carb loading, carb depletion, it really depends on how you look and how lean you are. I never really did any heavy carb depletion, carb loading. I tend to eat, like I said, a lot of carbohydrates even when I was depleting down, which, you want to get rid of some water and be able to, get the best push to your skin, obviously. But I always found that depleting for, 3 or 4 days, then carb loading for 2 days seemed to work best for most of the people that I trained. It really has a lot to do with your water intake. You have to keep your water really high, and then the last week you have to taper down as you get closer to competition. The best man to probably ask would be this guy over here, because he just went through the transition to get up on stage tonight, right? So he may be able to tell you a little better with the carb depletion. He just went through it this week, I know, and I saw his pictures, and he looks pretty impressive right now.
Έγινε ερώτηση σχετικά με την απογλυκογόνωση και την μεταταφράγωση. Ο Τζέι είπε ότι εξαρτάται από το σωματότυπο και κάθε άνθρωπος είναι ξεχωριστός. Σε γενικές γραμμές, ο Τζέι αυτό που δεν έκανε ποτέ βαριά απογλυκογόνωση, δηλαδή να ρίξει το υδατάνθρακα κάτω από τα 400 γραμμάρια, όπως είπαμε και πριν, και maximum 3 με 4 μέρες απογλυκογόνωση και μετά κατευθείαν μεταταφράγωση. Αλλά ακόμα και όταν έκανα απογλυκογόνωση, πραγματικά δεν τον είχε πολύ χαμηλά το υδατάνθρακα. Και το άλλο σημαντικό είναι το θέμα του νερού. Ότι πρέπει να φορτώνεις με νερό και μετά σιγά σιγά να το κόβεις. Επόμενος. The big guy.
It's difficult to see yourself downsizing at the Olympiads.
So I lost 60 pounds. I like the way I look now, actually. It's hard to realize that.
All those years training.
Yeah, it's funny how fast it comes down, but I still maintain a pretty good diet, and I'm still able to do a lot of those things that I still train the same, I still eat the same foods, but I did see a lot of change in my body, but I'm happy chiseling down, just trying not to come down too fast. I weigh about 250 now, whereas at my biggest I was 310.
310 pounds ήταν το βαρύτερο και τώρα είναι 250, 250 pounds, πόσα κιλά είναι εδώ, 113 κιλά. Το ρώτησε ο φίλος του πώς νιώθει από εκεί που ήταν, ας πούμε, σε μια πολύ οργό φυσιολογικό, είχε το Ολύμπια, πώς νιώθει, ας πούμε, σιγά σιγά που κατεβαίνει, και πάλι ο Τζέι ότι δεν έχει αλλάξει κάτι στον τρόπο που προπονείται ή διατρέφεται.
Βέβαια είναι θεαματικό πώς πέφτουν τα κιλά μετά την ηλικία του 40, τα αμυντικά κιλά.
Απλώς προσπαθεί να κρατιέται και τώρα κρατιέται και συντηρείται στα 113 κιλά. Είναι αξιοσέβαστο το νερό.
Πόσο λίγο?
Δεν ξέρω. Προσέντω στο πόδι.
70% probably now.
7 to 8.
I competed at about 3. I still got some abs.
Young lady. Grams of protein that somebody will take in order to become bigger. Bigger like Jay. Σαν τον Jay, τόσο μεγάλος. Τι σαν τον μαμά σου. As big as you.
I say usually about a gram per pound of body weight.
Περίπου ανά μισό κιλό 1 γραμμάριο πρωτεΐνης, δηλαδή ανά κιλό 2 γραμμάρια πρωτεΐνης. Δηλαδή αν κάποιος, για παράδειγμα, ο μπαμπάς σου πόσο ζυγίζεται, κύριε, στα 85 κιλά ο μπαμπάς σου θα πρέπει να προσλαμβάνει καθημερινά και να απορροφάει 170 γραμμάρια πρωτεΐνης.
Να γίνει σαν το Τζέι.
Σημασία παίζει και η διατάφρακα στην ανάπτυξη μέσα στη ψυχή.
κάνεις αυτό.
Πιο δυνατά.
Πιο δυνατά, δεν ακούω.
Όσον αφορά στην περίοδο του ΒΑΡ,
Then you schedule the routine, hours, programs.
I always only train 5 total days a week. So what I usually did is 4 days on, 1 day off. Okay?
4 ημέρες προπόνηση, 1 μέρα παύση, 5 προπονήσεις την εβδομάδα.
I would do, you know, back 1 day, legs 1 day, arms 1 day, shoulders 1 day.
Ένα σημείο την ημέρα.
Repetitions always between 8 to 12 repetitions.
Πάντα αυτό με 12 επαναλήψεις.
And 45 to 60 seconds rest between each set.
45-60 δευτερόλεπτα ξεκούραση ανάμεσα στα σετ.
But the meals, the food intake was the most important thing.
Αλλά το πιο σημαντικό θέμα ήταν η διατροφή, η θερμίδες.
Your first meal of the day, the meal before you train, the meal after you train.
Το πρωινό, το γεύμα πριν την προπόνηση, το γεύμα αμέσως μετά την προπόνηση. Αυτά είναι τα πιο σημαντικά σημεία.
Those 3 meals are the most important meals, highest calorie meals of the day.
Αυτά πρέπει να είναι και τα πιο θερμιδικά γεύματα μέσα στην ημέρα.
And then you fill in the rest of the meals so you eat every 2.5 to 3 hours. Okay, your supplementation should be taken around the training.
Και τα συμπληρώματά σας, η αγωγή των συμπληρωμάτων σας θα πρέπει να είναι γύρω από την προπόνηση. Δηλαδή πριν, κατά τη διάρκεια και αμέσως μετά την προπόνηση. Αυτή είναι η καλύτερη ώρα για κάποιον να κάνει supplementation.
That being said, since the action of the question of 5-day workout, what days do you decide to look at something like the 50 off 10 reps, how to do it, just go for 60-day rest? How long do you sustain that? You obviously can't do it kind of without doing joints and issues like that. How do you plan that out?
You know, my training stayed pretty much the same all the time, and if you watch my videos, which there's hundreds out there all over YouTube, I trained moderate to heavy, but I always did weights that I did for 10 or 12 repetitions. I never did 6 reps. I always believed that rep, get the blood flow, expand the muscle tissue, get out of the gym and feed it. I believe that's the bodybuilder way. I'm 42 years old now. I have no joint pain whatsoever. Okay, I feel like I'm 18 years old. I still train, I can still push heavy weights. So when someone says to me, what do I do for joints? I don't know the answer to that question because I never had any joint problems. My knees are great. You know, I still squat, I can still deadlift, I can still do all military presses. You can still watch me train every day. I put my videos up daily. I have no issues whatsoever.
Ο τρόπος που έκανε προπόνηση ο Τζέι, με τις 10 και 12 επαναλήψεις και τη σύνδεση, όπως είπαμε, του μυαλού και μη, είναι αυτός που το προστάτευσε και αν το ρωτήσετε και δεν είχε προβλήματα στις αρθρώσεις. Και πραγματικά, λέει, αν κάποιος το ρωτήσει πώς μπορεί να αντιμετωπίσει προβλήματα αρθρώσεων, δεν μπορεί να του δώσει την απάντηση γιατί ποτέ στην καριέρα του δεν είχε. Και αυτό σχετίζεται με τον τρόπο που έκανε προπόνηση, δηλαδή προστάτευσε τον εαυτό του. Και ότι αισθάνεται τις αρθρώσεις του είναι 42 ετών, αισθάνεται τις αρθρώσεις του και είναι 18 χρονών.
You don't have to train with crazy heavy weights to be big. It's all about the squeeze and the contraction and the focus, like we talk about, the muscle.
Όλα έχουν να κάνουν με το σφίξιμο, με τη σύσπαση του μη και με το πόσο συγκεντρωμένος είσαι και όχι κατά ανάγκη με τα κιλά που θα βάλεις. Κύριε Κρόβα.
Jay, I lift weights as long as you live, 42 years. So I would like your honest answer. I've seen bodybuilding evolving all these years. And I've seen all these, as a doctor, all these crazy things people do to their bodies. First, if you think it's worth it, of course you've been there. And what is your advice to young people that will never become competitive bodybuilders? Should they engage in pharmacological help or just follow a good routine and good nutrition. It's very important that you as a representative be adamant on that.
You know, you have to just take your body as it comes. Like I said in the beginning, I didn't ever think I could be Mr. Olympia. I didn't think I was big enough. Did I push expectations? Absolutely. I think I ate more, you know, I trained more. But my frame was so big, I was able to maintain a lot more size than the average human. And I still believe you have to have the structure in order to achieve a certain size. And listen, I'm the 11th Mr. Olympia in history. There's been 13 in 52 years. So anyone sitting in this room that says, you know, I'm going to be the next one, you know, you can't say that until you get into position. I didn't realize I could win until I placed second for the first time. And I never imagined looking at pictures of Dorian Yates or Arnold Schwarzenegger that someday I would reach the level of that. You know, I was a kid admiring magazines at 18, in the gym for 2 months and amazed at the physiques that I saw and saying that's impossible to look like that. Bodybuilding has evolved. You know, supplements have become more important. Back in Arnold's day, they didn't have supplementation. They didn't have the knowledge of the nutrition. There's so much more factors that come into play to become better now. And it's just like other sports. You know, you see track and field or basketball. The football players, the United States football players are bigger than they've ever been. Everything has to evolve. And as a doctor, I can understand the health aspect you're concerned. But realistically, each one's genetics, a certain person can push their genetics to who knows what. So I know, you know, being stepped away now and watching my career, I did a lot of the right things, although people may have looked and said this guy was the biggest guy at one time. He had something he did that no one else was doing. That's not true. I just really was dedicated to my craft and what I did. I was able to maintain a lot of size that no one else could do. I trained extremely hard, and you know, I was able to be one of the ones to stand in the end at the Miss Olympia stage and be the best. But it does concern me, the internet, and all these young faces that read things on the internet and follow guys that maybe they shouldn't follow, listen to routines and do things and put things in their body that shouldn't be put into their body. Absolutely. Yeah, it scares me. But what I try to do is I try to tell these people there is a right and wrong way. And I understand that concerned parents. The nutrition is number one. And not everyone follows that. Even the guys I competed against, they didn't have a good nutrition program. They were able to eat anything they wanted and get in crazy condition. I didn't understand. I didn't have the genetics like that, but I was able to do things the right way, which I felt. And I still stand, and I stand behind everything that I do nowadays. So my concern is equal to yours. And I'm just doing my best to spread a positive word. That's it.
Jay, do you believe that a strong will is stronger than skill? A strong will?
I believe so. I believe you have to believe in yourself. I believe that you have to have a mindset that, you know, is positive. You can't surround yourself with negative things. You know, listen to put friends and family, put your training partners, put anyone positive around you. That's how life should be, just like in anything you do. If you want to be successful, you have to really relate to successful people and successful things.
A strong mindset is stronger than genetics.
It is,
because you get to the top.
Because you need to be able to follow a path, and you need to be able to, you know, push yourself beyond limits and follow the rigid diets and the training each day. And you know, it's hard with the social aspect. I had to live in a very small box I didn't go to family events. I kept myself away from birthday parties. You know, at 21 years old, everyone was out drinking, you know, drinking age in the United States. I was eating chicken breasts.
Actually, this sacrifice paid off.
It paid off, but it was a lot of sacrifice. And you still have to have balance. And that's what I look and strive for now. You know, and I've stepped off the stage. I have much more balance in my life than I ever had. Because it's not about just going to the gym and becoming the best bodybuilder.
If you didn't have the genetics, you would do the same.
I would do the same. I probably wouldn't have the same result in 1 Olympias, but I believe that, you know, you can push, you know, certain genetics. I mean, you have to be born with, you know, the wide shoulders and, you know, the round muscles to be able to stand on the top of the stage. But there's so many divisions now, you know, with men's physique and classic bodybuilding and, you know, women's bikini, and, you know, I see women in the crowd here, and girlfriends and spouses, the mothers. There's so many new divisions. You don't have to be the next Jay Cutler to be, you know, something. You don't have to become the biggest bodybuilder out there. That's why I favor what they're doing now with the new divisions. It's giving a lot of people opportunity. And I think that's important for health and fitness, because that's what it is. It's not just bodybuilding, it's health and fitness. It's getting in the gym and achieving a body. We're like an artist to make it physique the best. We look in the mirror and that's how we judge how we look. And I always consider myself an artist.
Next question, please. Which is the best to get in your body before and after training? Nutrition or supplements? Supplements is just nutrition. What for supplements?
Nutrition, a great meal 1 hour before training. Protein, carbohydrates, low-fat source protein. Okay? After training, 45 minutes to 1 hour is your window to eat whole food. You know, something, of course, low-fat protein and fast carbohydrates, white rice, white potatoes, to sustain.
Σύνθετη υδατάνθρακες και πρωτεΐνη με την προπόνηση 1 ώρα και 45 λεπτά μετά την προπόνηση γεύμα με πρωτεΐνη χωρίς λίπος και σούγαρς και υδατάνθρακες. Ή too many calories in order to become bigger, or you have to manipulate a plan in your body, that depends on your body.
I never counted calories.
Ποτέ δεν μετρούσα θερμίδες.
I just ate protein carbohydrate combinations, kept my fats low, and I ate consistently.
Συνέπεια είναι αυτό που μετράει. Δεν μετρούσε θερμίδες, αλλά ακολουθούσε το πρόγραμμά του με συνέπεια.
If I was trying to put on weight, I would get up in the middle of the night and I'd have food prepared and I'd, you know, eat, or I'd have protein shakes.
Όταν χρειαζόταν να αυξήσει τη μυϊκή του μάζα, σκότωσε στο μέσο της νύχτας, είχε έτοιμο γεύμα ή έδινε ένα protein shake.
I'd set my alarm and get up.
Ρύθμιζε το ξυπνητήρι και σκοτώταν.
So I guess it's about taking in as many calories as you can, depending on how many you're burning. Obviously, if you're overweight, then it's not good to do. But
εξαρτάται από τον μεταβολισμό σου, δηλαδή τι θα κάνεις με τον μεταβολισμό σου. Δεν μπορείς δηλαδή να τρως αλόγιστα θερμίδες όταν, ας πούμε, είσαι ενδομορφικός. Next question, please.
Θέλω να ρωτήσω.
Κύριε Κερκινέ.
Thanks again for coming for a second year. My question has to do with what goes on behind the scenes of the professional bodybuilding scene. And I'm specifically talking about the teams behind the athletes. I mean, you see the bodybuilder on stage, but behind them there's a team. So in your case or in other professional bodybuilding, how many people are behind this result? And do you think it's they are the absolute best, or is the result is some percentage of luck that you cannot avoid?
I believe the person competing obviously does a lot of the work, but you have to have the people there that help with the food and obviously the encouragement, training partners, person that does shaves, does the tanning. There's a lot of factors that come in, work with the routines, the nutritionist. I mean, I had a lot of people in my corner, and that changed all the way through my career. But in the end, I mean, the most important people behind the athlete, and I know from speaking to Jay Cutler, were the fans that are sitting here, that support this. Because the reason I kept going so long is because I had such a huge fan base, and if anyone asked me, Jay, what do you miss most about being Mr. Olympia? It's nothing about, oh, I love looking at the trophies in my room, or the medals and all the sponsorships I had, all that stuff. When I walked out on that stage in Las Vegas, because every year I competed, it was in Las Vegas, and I came from behind the curtain, and I looked out, and I saw 10,000 people in the audience, and everyone was on their feet, because I had the loudest cheers of anyone on the Olympia stage whenever I competed. I lived for that moment of the fans going crazy for Jay Cutler. That's the only thing I miss the most, is being able to walk out and the whole place goes crazy for Jay Cutler. That was the best memories of my career.
Γι' αυτό έχουμε τη φωτογραφία σου πάνω στο πιάνο.
Your picture is on the one when they're playing piano.
Χειροκρότημα.
Thank you.
The judge?
Jay, I'd like to ask you your view on the stomach extension. Do you think it's, like you were saying, you advocate bodybuilding, health and fitness, which is my view exactly. I've been training 35, 40 years, still competing at the age of 62. Do you think that people are trying to shove the genetics too far? Wouldn't you think the genetic potential?
Yes, descendant stomachs is, I know there's a lot of reasons people think that that's happening. It's people's genetics only allow them to eat so much food. Okay, and everyone overeats. I think a lot of these top guys, and what happens is, I mean, sometimes it can be overeating and cause of gas and distension, but a lot of it is just, you eat too much meat, too much protein. Your body can only take so much protein. You don't need to eat 400 or 500 grams of protein a day. I never did that when I was 310 pounds. In fact, I only ate 300 grams a day usually. My protein was really low, and that's why I ate so much carbohydrates, because I believe that that's a healthier way to do it. It's too much strain on your kidneys. You can't eat that much protein. Your body can't assimilate a pound of chicken every meal. And these guys, they want to be so big, but they don't have the genetics, so what happens is it can't go all into the muscles to get bigger, the stomach has to get bigger too.
So it's internal organ growth? Because the muscle is really
Yes. Yeah. Because I mean, listen, I ate a lot of food. I ate as much as a lot of these guys eat, but truthfully, I never ate that much protein. And I never had the distension. I trained my abs. That was one thing, when you stand on stage, you don't want your stomach to be sticking out. You transition on your side poses and look for that flat look.
We judge a lot in England, more or less every other weekend. And we're seeing more and more people with distension.
Not only India, everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere. Arnold mentioned about that.
But it's the food. It's not the drugs. I mean, listen, it's the food. The food intake.
Θα ήθελα να ρωτήσω τον κύριο Jay Cutler, όταν κάνουμε carb loading, αν την πρώτη μέρα τα μισά γεύματα θα πρέπει να είναι με υψηλής high glycemic carbohydrates και τα μισά με low glycemic carbohydrates.
Not necessarily. Remember, when you're carb loading, you know, your carbs are here, your protein can come down because the calories are the same, protein, carbohydrates, right? So, when the carbs are way up, you don't need as much protein because that's going to only slow the process. So I think there's a lot of confusion that people think, oh, I got to take in simple sugars to get it in fast. But the truth is, if the protein's down here and the carbohydrates, it's going to assimilate through the body a lot faster. And that's why I mentioned the pre-workout and post-workout meal should be lower in fat, protein. You shouldn't eat beef. It needs to be, you know, chicken or turkey or fish or egg whites. Something that your body will assimilate a lot easier and let those carbohydrates flow into the muscles. So I never did the simple sugars to start off the carb loading process. I always kept the protein to a little portion. I mean, I would eat 8 ounces normal. I would cut down to 3 or 4 ounces and the carbohydrates would be very high. That way you don't get the stomach and you don't get the gassy distension as much.
Όταν έκανε δηλαδή το φόρτωμα αυτό που έκανε, σου λέει ότι κρατούσε το θέμα είναι θερμιδικής ισορροπίας. Έκανε φόρτωμα με υδατάνθρακες, αλλά επειδή πρέπει να κρατάει σταθερές τις θερμίδες, αναγκαστικά έλαβε με την πρωτεΐνη. Δηλαδή αυτό τον βοήθησε να κάνει τους υδατάνθρακες να κυλάνε μέσα στους μυς του, να βάλει γλυκογόνο στους μυς, χωρίς όμως το στομάχι του να έρθει στα έξω. Άρα λοιπόν αυτό που προτείνει ουσιαστικά είναι η ισορροπία θερμίδων, υψηλό υδατάνθρακα, αλλά ταυτόχρονη μείωση της ποσότητας της πρωτεΐνης. Επόμενος. Over there. What's about the fiber?
Protein was always chicken, fish, turkey, protein powders, believe it or not, egg whites, and then beef. Okay, for carbohydrates, I always ate grits or oatmeal for breakfast. And then I would have potatoes or rice, potatoes, sweet potatoes, right, white potatoes. And then, you know, some starchy carbohydrates, some pasta. When I was trying to get bigger, I would eat pasta. I would always suggest that to you hard gainers that have trouble putting on size and you're somewhat lean. Pasta is a great way to put on size.
No bread?
Not as much bread. I use flourless bread, I use Ezekiel bread. That's what I would use to allow you guys to see my videos. I still eat that nowadays. But I stuck to the same foods, the same time, every day. My breakfast is the same for 20 years. Egg whites, oatmeal, toast, Ezekiel toast, cup of coffee.
20 χρόνια τώρα η διατροφή του είναι το πρωινό του εδώ και 20 χρόνια είναι ίδιο. Κοτόπουλο, το πρωινό του είναι oatmeal, Ezekiel, ένα ειδικό ψωμί, ένα πολύ σπουδαίο ψωμί και egg whites. Και όταν πραγματικά θέλει να γεμίσει, εκεί βάζει μακαρόνι. Δηλαδή χρησιμοποιεί σε σταθερή βάση ρύζι πατάτα, σε σταθερή βάση καλοπούλα, κοτόπουλο και ψάρι και στο γέμισμα μακαρόνι και beef.
I need 30 egg whites for breakfast. 30 for breakfast. You wonder why I don't want to go back into competition. 30 egg whites for breakfast. No. I do 10 now.
Σχετικά με τον ύπνο ήθελα να ρωτήσω πόσες ώρες απαιτείται να κοιμηθείς. Σχετικά με τον ύπνο, πόσες ώρες απαιτούνται και πότε θεωρείτε ότι κοιμάσαι πολύ.
How much sleep is required to recover at night?
I say 5 to 7 hours.
5 με 7 ώρες ύπνο είναι αρκετές για ανάρρωση.
If you can sleep more, that's great, but 5 to 7, 5 to 8 hours.
5 έως 8.
Maybe a nap during the day. I like to nap, usually after training.
Αν μπορεί να πάρεις και μέσα στην ημέρα και να λέει μετά από ώρες
if you're lucky.
Πρόσεχε που είναι κοιμισμένο όμως, μόνος σου. Επόμενος.
What's your opinion about the early days in bodybuilding and the modern bodybuilding? Is it two different sports?
If he prefers the arcade physiques instead of huge physiques, for example.
I was a fan of Chris Dickerson, Arnold, Bob Harris, the smaller, not as muscular. I think they've pushed bodybuilders to become bigger. So I'm not a fan of how big I became for Mr. Olympia, if that's the question. I'm not in favor of the guys getting bigger and bigger. The doctor asked an important question because, bodybuilding should be an art and not a freak show. I think a lot of the fans, they want to see the biggest guy get up there and hit most musculars and ripped and veins. But that's not going to make the younger generation more aware of what they want to become. I mean, that's not a good presentation, because bodybuilding should be, something people look at and admire. The women should look at it and say, wow, he looks really, really good. Not, oh, I never want you to look like that. I remember when my gut so big, and my mom looked at me when I was 300 pounds and she said, what happened to my baby? But it's what it took to become the best and to win. And they started these new divisions, classic physique in the United States now, and I think it's getting progress. I really think bodybuilding, like in a whole Mr. Olympia type competition, is not as popular as it used to be, because now it's opened the eyes now with these other divisions and these younger generations. I mean, what kid wants to pick up a magazine or look on the internet and see that a guy becomes Mr. Olympia in their mid-30s and not in their 20s? I mean, Mr. Olympias used to become Olympia champions in their early 20s. Lee Haney, Arnold Schwarzenegger. These guys were all early 20s when they won the Mr. Olympia. I know if I started off and I saw that, Jay Cutler won at 33 and Phil Heath won at 32, and I wouldn't want to wait that long to become the best at something. So now these newer divisions, you've got the younger champions. It gives these younger generation more opportunity. And I do think that bodybuilding will become a little less. It's still going to be apparent, but there'll be a lot more advantages to becoming more fit and muscular instead of being outrageously big.
Okay, αυτό που κατά τη γνώμη του Τζέι, το bodybuilding δεν είναι μόνο...
That's why in England now, the board shorts.
It's huge. It's everywhere. I promote 6 contests myself now. So as a promoter and seeing how much now, it used to be women's bikini was getting bigger. Now the men's physique with board shorts is bigger than it.
It is actually a nice look, even though you don't see the legs. It's more appealing to the general public.
Yes. And as a bodybuilder, it's hard to see that because, listen, I favor bodybuilding, but I can appreciate anyone that gets in the gym and can stand up on these stages and have the parents and the proud of what they've achieved. Because, listen, they all go through the same diet, they go through the same training. We just had to put a lot more years to become as big as we were. at least 30 minutes fasted cardio in the morning. I think someone asked that question here. And then I usually have egg whites after. I have 2 whole eggs, just for some fats. Then I have a big bowl of oatmeal. And then a cup of coffee. Sometimes some fruit or whatever, but little protein, little carbohydrates, a little bit of good fat, which is egg whites, whole eggs, and obviously like a lot of vitamins. A couple whole eggs a day is good for you. And then, 2 hours after that, another meal, and then 2 hours after that, another meal. So that continues. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. You can't skip your breakfast. Okay, so anyone that's skipping their breakfast, get up tomorrow morning and eat your breakfast because Jay Cutler says so. And includes you too, Mom.
Εδώ στην Ελλάδα τώρα είμαστε όλοι στεναχωρημένοι λόγω της κρίσεως. Θα μας κάνεις δώρο μερικές πόζες.
Χωρίς πλούζα, χωρίς πλούζα.
I'm not tan enough. I'm not tan enough right now.
No worries, no worries.
Δεν είναι αρκετά μαυρισμένος για να το κάνει. Θα πάει Σαντορίνη αύριο.
Σαντορίνη, maybe.
You can be the first one to take a picture with me. How's that?
Σου δίνω όμως προτεραιότητα. Να κάνεις πρώτη φωτογραφία.
Το αξίζει, αλλά δεν είναι
Να ρωτήσω κάτι. Και τη φωτογραφία που θα βγάλετε θα μπει και αυτή πάνω στο πιάνο.
Είναι μαζί με τον κρύπτον.
Α, ωραία.
Δεν το περίμενε. Δεν περίμενε ποτέ. Έκανε την προπόνηση στο μέγιστο, αλλά ποτέ δεν μπορούσε να φανταστεί ότι θα πάρει το Ολυμπία.
I didn't follow a bodybuilder. I followed Sylvester Stallone.
Sylvester Stallone.
And John Claude Van Damme. You guys know who he is or no? Okay. I feel old when I'm talking to the younger kids. How old are you guys? How old? I didn't start lifting weights until I was 18 years old. So you guys have a big jump on me already, lifting weights. But I didn't follow, Arnold, of course, I looked at his pictures. Bob Harris, you guys probably don't know who that is. Chris Dickerson, former Mr. Olympia, I followed him. And then, of course, Dorian Yates, and then Ronnie Coleman was an idol of mine, and then I ended up beating Ronnie Coleman, competing against him. So there were a lot of guys. Dorian Yates, Englishman.
I think he changed the concept of it. He was really the first biggest one that come in.
I think Dorian Yates changed the game, but he had the genetic structure to change the game. He held that size pretty well.
Jay, what are your plans concerning the Cutler division?
Cutler Nutrition now was launched here. I came here last year for the launch of a nutrition line, sports nutrition line that obviously the bodybuilding club now carries here, and I stand behind a lot of the products. Greece has a lot of products that are in the line, and I'm fortunate now to be on that side, having a product line that represents who I am. And, I'm traveling extensively for the line and trying to bring out products to help, a lot of people at all different levels be able to compete or just be more fit, burn body fat, maintain a better overall look or health in general. And, fortunately now, I've had a lot of support worldwide. My international audience is very supportive. And, I plan to continue to stand behind the brand and do the best I can to bring the best sports nutrition, to the business. And there's a lot of competition. A lot of the bodybuilders now are launching their own brand of supplements, finding ways, to stream their revenue. But I do a lot of different things, not just with supplements. I do a lot of things outside with the show promotions. I'm a show, I have a clothing brand. I work in a lot of different medical things in Las Vegas. I've done a lot of things, investments in the past that have put me at a level that a lot of the bodybuilders, when they retire, aren't able to do. And like I was telling these guys, I've been spending a lot of time, I'm really enjoying the travel and taking the best opportunity to be in front of as many faces as possible, but have fun. I can honestly say this year has been the funnest year for me so far since I retired from competing.
Are you looking forward to expanding the brand?
Yeah, I'm always looking to expand, and come out with new products, but the truth is I'm not just going to launch products just to do it. I'm going to always stand behind whatever I launch, and it's different for each region. You guys carry supplements that have different ingredients that are available in other countries, and I have to respect that, and I always have to do certain registration processes for that. And we have to have great people that have a lot of knowledge on the products, such as these guys, the staff. Remember, when you walk into a store, you have to have some knowledge with what the products do. Don't just buy it because Jay Cutler says to take it. That's not what I'm trying to do. So, I want to thank everyone for their support of Cutler Nutrition here. We have our stand outside, and I'll be signing magazines there for after this seminar is over, and hopefully be able to take a picture with hopefully all of you guys that are in there.
Θα είπε όλα ο Τζέι. Πέτρο, κλείνοντας.
Επειδή πρέπει να δώσουμε και την αίθουσα πρώτα για να φωτογραφηθούμε όλοι με τον Τζέι και να φτιαχτεί η αίθουσα προκειμένου να ξεκινήσουν και οι αγώνες, πρέπει να ολοκληρώσουμε εδώ. Θέλω να ρωτήσω απλά τον Τζέι, last year you came alone, this year you came with your relationship, next year you speak Greek, right?
Spanish.
Can't translate anymore. Third time you can speak Greek.
Dashu Malaja. Lava.
Γεια σου Ελλάδα.
Except,